I want to talk to you about the homeschooling
Yeah,
because I'm curious about it.
yeah,
Pros and cons,
yeah,
if there are any cons,
yeah,
like what does it look like
yeah,
for your kids? Because I'm going to say one of the cons, but maybe it's not, is you don't have the social element
mm.
of your kids going to an environment with other
Have
kids.
you seen socialising in school?
I've been to public school, yeah, so it's all I know. But I'm going to say that, and I'm not against homeschooling.
No.
I went to public school, but I've met great people there, and I have great
Yeah,
friendships from there. And I look at them times and think they're great. You
yeah,
know, I'm not. I'm and this the education is a different side of it, but but I'm also curious about like what homeschooling would look like
yeah,
if I had been. I'm sure there's
yeah.
positives, yeah.
Um, well, in the home ed world, we say there are many ways of home educating as there are home educating families. Everybody does it sort of slightly differently. For me, I was what we call a radical unschooler. So for a start off, I always say home education rather than homeschooling. Homeschooling, I think, has come through from it's more of an American term. And I was not going to be replicating school at home. So I see education and schooling as two very different things. And I think what our public schools offer is schooling. Um, and I'm far too much of a free spirit to be going down that road. So I wanted my children to have far more experiences. I didn't want them to be coerced into what somebody else had decided they needed to know that month or year. I didn't want them to be in an environment where they were only with their own age group. I don't think that's a very realistic life pattern, that we only sit. I don't spend all my time with other 54-year-olds, So I wanted them to have a much wider life experience. Now, I think I think the caveat with that is that you yourself have to be living your life. You have to be living an interesting life. And that I very much saw them as a part of the family. They were my family, and we did interesting things together, and we did life learning. So it was just whatever we woke up and decided we were doing that day is what we did. I never once sat them down to make them do reading or writing. So they would have learned those things by osmosis. Because I read a lot, so I read to them a lot. So they learned to read because that's what we did in our house.
And then how do you integrate socially?
Yeah, so we because we did so many interesting things, your social life is actually the people that you're spending your time with. So we had swimming lessons. They joined in your space circus. They went to gymnastics. We met up regularly with other home educating families.
And how did you even find the network of them? Because I don't even know any.
There is a national
community of it?
Community.
A network,
and you're not long finding out who is also doing this.
And is there much of it in Donegal?
There's a fair bit, yeah.
And in Inshawn?
In Inshawn, yeah. There's a fair few, more and more now. And as I say, everybody does it differently. So some people do classes at home, and I opted to not do that.
When you say classes at home, like as in...
They sit with books, and they have a curriculum.
So from their parents.
Yeah. And there's an element of privilege with it, because you have to have...
And how do you decide what you're teaching?
Well, I didn't ever teach anything. I just lived, and they just lived.
Okay.
And they would,
so
children want to learn.
Yeah.
They're curious about life. So they ask questions. And if you don't know, you say, I don't know, let's go and find out. And you go to the library, or you use the internet, or you talk to other people that are doing it.
And what about maths and stuff?
Yeah,
generally
maths. Bit of a down point in our house.
Yeah. Because maths is generally something that is beneficial to life.
Well, yes and no. See, to me, the maths that you need to know is, have I got the right change? How much fuel does my car tank hold? How do I weigh these ingredients to make this recipe?
So you're still teaching it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I want to put a cupboard there. How do I measure get the right size? So that was the maths that we did in our house. And all of my children ended up in school around the age of 15.
When you say ended up like in secondary school?
Yeah. So
Okay.
they all decided to go at various different. So it was all around the age of 15 that they went in.
Because that was where I was going with this then, as the end is like, if you want to go to university, you need some form of leaving cert. You can't
Apparently.
get in. Yeah, I mean, maybe you can.
Yeah,
to my knowledge.
Get in.
Okay,
yeah.
so, right.
So it depends what you want to do. So my point is that if a child realises that they want to be an accountant and they need X, Y, or Z in order to get to college to do accountancy, then they're motivated to do it because that's what they've chosen to do. It's not somebody forcing them. And it's never, ever too late to learn. There's a brilliant home ed author, John Holt, who wrote a book called It's Never Too Late to Learn. And he picked up the cello, I think in his 70s.
What's the cello? The big, huge guitar.
Yeah,
It's not a guitar, but it's
the violin, the viola, the cello, and then the double bass.
The cello's the huge one, right?
It's smaller than the double bass.
Okay, but it literally stands like that, no?
Yeah, you sit and you have it between your knees, and
like a big violin, then.
Yeah, rather large. Yeah, rather large violin. So it's a stringed instrument, but the point is that if we want to do something badly enough, we'll find a way to do it. So my eldest daughter went to circus school in London. She got into that. It's a university. It's affiliated with the University of Kent. She sat her junior cert she went into school at 15, hardly attended a class for the first few months, then decided she was going to knuckle down. And then it became exam week, and she came down to school came down the stairs in her version of the uniform and I said, what are you doing? I thought it was exams this week. She said, yeah, I'm going to sit them. And I said, what? And she said, yeah, I'm going to sit the exams for the crack. And I said, who sits exams for the crack? So she went and she passed them, apart from Spanish, because she hadn't been to any classes. You can't expect to learn a language if you're not going to show up. So that was fine. And she got in on her performance work. So
what do you mean performance work?
So she did the practical,
the circus, yes,
and passed the audition, and so they accepted her, even though she only had a junior cert.
Yeah,
and so obviously that's not going to apply for all. You couldn't go and be a medical student on a junior cert,
Yeah, because the exams you may be very well versed in life experience, but like you have to know what they're trying to test you on.
Yeah. But for me, that was less important than having a holistic childhood with freedom. And actually, when my eldest daughter went to school to see whether she was going to go in, one of the teachers actually said, why are you giving up all your freedom to come here? And I thought that was quite an interesting question. And she said, I don't want to get to 27 and be forever wondering what this school situation was that all of my other friends do. And so they said, oh, so you just want an experience then? And she said, yeah, I just want to know what it's like. And they said, well, I hope you have a very good experience. And she said, well, don't worry about that. If I don't like it, I shall just leave again. And that was the way she conducted herself at school. She was like, I'm choosing to be here. I don't have to be here. So she got out of it what she wanted. But to be honest, the social side of it, it got to the point where they were tweens and I couldn't keep up with their social life in home education. Yeah. I mean, every day.
Well, they have a phone now, so
yeah, I didn't give them phones till they were till later. But I think Anya was 14 before she got a phone. So, but they every day with other kids in home ed, and they were friends that they chose. They weren't just
when you
bundled
say every day
together.
In home ed. Sorry, like were they home ed with a group, or was it just the two?
Yeah, there was a home ed community.
Okay, so
we would meet up with these other kids every day. It was exhausting. I couldn't keep up. I'm not actually very sociable. And I was like, oh, jeebus, here we go again. Another day out, But we did loads of really interesting things. And if you ask them now, they'd probably be down on home ed because they're teenagers. It doesn't matter what I do, whatever I cook, however I do the laundry, whatever it is, they've something to say about it. But hey, we've all been raised to have opinions, so I don't mind, and they'll probably come round in the end, So they've had the best of both worlds, probably.
Yes.
But I'm not very supportive of the schooling system, Fanula comes home with Christopher Columbus stuff, and that rubbish,
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's not for everyone.
No, and I just think it's out of date. I don't think they keep up with
a lot of people go to school and they leave out, and they're it's not a one size fits all.
And not many children actually relish the thought of going.
No,
I wanted children who were loving their life, not getting up in the morning and getting shouted at for getting their breakfast down them as quickly as possible to get out the door and these funny clothes and then go and sit down all day inside. That was just not my idea of a childhood at all.
Are you aware of the school? I don't know the name, but I think there's one in Belfast and there's one in Dublin and there's one in Sligo where you go there as a kid, but they don't teach you. They figure out what you want to learn.
Yes.
What's the name?
Yeah, there's
It's this guy. I think or maybe it's a woman.
Yeah, there's one in Sligo for sure.
But anyways, do you know how it works? Yeah, I found that very interesting.
Democratic school.
Is that what it is called now? But so the way it goes is you go in and whatever you are interested in, you get to build that.
Yes.
But through building that, they teach you all the different, whatever it is. Could be history, it could be maths, it could be science.
Yeah.
But you get to be creative. So because that's one thing schools can be very limited on is your creativity.
Yeah, and I like to integrate the subjects. So rather than separating maths out into its own subject or English into its own subject or geography, I love the idea of merging all of those together so that, baking is art, it's nutrition, it's maths, it's science, it's geography if you're doing ethnic. You can incorporate so many. There's so much scope. I find it fascinating, but I love learning stuff. So that's just how we lived our lives.